All of us were new teachers at one time. All of us walked into that building for the first time once. And that's a daunting experience. You're excited, but there's also a little bit of trepidation. Even though you've been trained well, you've been through a teacher's college, now the rubber is really hitting the road. So when it comes to teaching any class really, but psychology specifically, it's not uncommon for someone to be put in a situation to teach an on-level psychology course without really having had a lot of training in teaching psychology. Unlikely that they student taught in psychology. So you're really starting at the ground level. So I think it's really important at that point to pause, take a beat, and take stock of what you have. Take stock in a couple of different ways. The first way, take stock in yourself. What do I know? What classes have I had? What areas of psychology are perhaps areas that I'm more familiar with? It's likely you had a class in lifespan development somewhere along the way. So maybe that's going to be one of the chapters that you cover. So you're taking stock personally of where you are when it comes to the content. Second, I think it's really important to take stock physically. What is available? Do you have a textbook? Is your textbook up to date? How many copies do you have? What are your students? How many students are you going to have? How many sections? Do you have enough copies for every student, or are they going to have to share in some way? Do you have a teacher's edition? Is the teacher's edition complete? Do you have all the materials that support the book, or are you going to have to go hunting? Did some of it disappear with the previous teacher? Are there activities books that you have available that you can look into and find some really high interest activities that you can use in that case? So then I guess really along that line too, as you're taking stock of what resources you have, human resources. Is there another psychology teacher in the building that would meet with you to talk about here's what's worked and here's what hasn't? If there isn't another teacher in the building, is there a school nearby that has a psychology teacher that you could reach out to and talk about what was it like when you started and what are you doing now? And if even then, there's likely to be a community college psychology teacher or a university psychology teacher who has an interest in teaching, an interest in high school psychology, and would be willing to help provide some other resources perhaps, and even talk through some of the content that is not so great for you or something that you need to catch up on. So I think it's really important at the beginning just to see what you have and what you need.
It's so exciting to be approaching your first psychology class. In fact, the only emotion that probably matches the excitement is the fear. As you try to get ready for something that seems impossible. There are very few fields as broad as psychology, very few fields that require as much preparation to do well. And especially if you don't have a strong background in psychology, that can really be unsettling. Well, one thing you want to do is model your passion for psychology to your students. Let them know that you are a student of psychology as well as they are students of psychology. And that's true whether you have a graduate degree in psychology or if you've had an intro class and a development class. We all have more to learn. The field is growing and changing exponentially all the time. So one thing to do is to set a goal for yourself during your first year that you're going to learn a little bit more about the things you need to learn about. Now, where do you learn about it? I think the best resource is to assemble a small library. Randy has mentioned how important it is to make contacts with other people. One of the most valuable contacts you can make is a professor at a local college or community college, because they get sample copies of textbooks mailed to them constantly, and they often don't know what to do with them. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking to simply go to the community college or pick up the telephone and call and ask to speak to somebody in the psychology department, but it's well worth getting past that nervousness. If you don't know who to approach, talk to the department secretary. Explain that you're a new psychology teacher and you'd like to make a contact with somebody that can maybe help provide some advice and resources. That secretary will know who to hook you up with. And when you meet with that professor, ask him or her if they have some extra copies of textbooks. Try to get a couple of intro textbooks at the college level. Try to get an intro to personality textbook. Try to get an intro to development textbook. Try to get an intro to cognition textbook so that you have a resource that you can look at as you prepare your lessons and as you try to answer your students' questions. You'll feel better when you have resources that you can use and rely on to make your course better. The other thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure you take sort of a bird's eye view. Before you start, and periodically throughout the course, take a step back. Are you on track? Start by setting an agenda for what units you want to cover, how much you want to attempt as you work through the year, and how much time you're going to allow for each of those units. And you're going to be disrupted. Things are going to happen. You're going to have unscheduled assemblies. There's going to be snow days. There's going to be other weather-related delays. One time the smokestack collapsed at my high school, and we lost 2 days of school because they were afraid it was going to continue to collapse. So they called off school. I thought that was a good decision. But things are going to come up, and you want to make sure that you don't just fall farther and farther behind so that by the time you get to the end of the semester or the end of the year, there are 2 or 3 units you haven't covered. That's really a disservice to students, and you need to do what you can to make sure that that doesn't happen. The last thing I'd say is to, almost as a mantra, chant to yourself every day, psychology is science. Psychology is science. It's very easy, especially if you're underprepared and pressed for time, and you will feel both as you go through your first year, to fall back on some sort of pop psychology resource that you find somewhere. Because it's easy and because you think kids will find it interesting. They will find it interesting, but it's a little misleading for them. There are many resources, and we'll talk about some, that you can use to help you kind of bridge those gaps without resorting to more of a touchy-feely brand of psychology rather than a thinky-doey brand of psychology. And you need to keep reminding yourself that. Students will want to get you off track. They'll say, ooh, can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? Because they saw something on TikTok or whatever. And it's important, I think, to sort of resist that and stay to the path. And as you do that repeatedly throughout your course, they'll grow to appreciate the scientific approach that underlies psychology. And ideally, they'll begin to use that as they approach issues in their own life.